Joe Kissell takes control of DEVONthink 4, Part 2. This is Mac Voices. Today's Mac Voices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. Uncensored, off-topic, and always off the wall. MacVoices After Dark is available as a benefit to our Patreon subscribers. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is part 2 of our conversation with Joe Kissell on Take Control of DEVONthink 4. We split this interview into 2 parts because there was so much to discuss because DEVONthink 4 offers so much. Let's let Joe do the talking.
So in the DEVONthink window, there are a lot of different, panes and spots and elements, and there's an optional column that appears on the right-hand side of the window called the inspector. Well, there are actually multiple inspectors depending on what sort of thing you want to inspect. I want to look at the table of contents. Well, no, I want to look at this sort of metadata or that sort of metadata, or I want to see the concordance or many different DEVONthink features. These are all in inspectors. So DEVONthink completely reorganized the way inspectors work. There are more of them now. Stuff has been moved around a lot, and we have inspectors within inspectors and so forth. So this is, for anyone who hasn't already used DEVONthink, this will sound like a little bit like it's a little bit inside baseball and who cares. But the goal is to make things easier for you to find and easier for you to work with. So if you have been using DEVONthink, you will have to get used to some new names and locations for things. But ultimately, I think the new arrangement of inspectors is a plus. All right, so these are just a few of the features that are available to everyone with any version. Now, so far it may not sound terribly exciting. In fact, there were hundreds and hundreds of changes, but a lot of them were really small. Like, okay, well, they changed that icon, they moved that thing from here to over there, and now this command that used to be there is now on this submenu, and it has a different name, and like tons of little things, tons and tons of them, which are like, they're all good, they're all useful. It's like, oh, so it only takes 1 click to do that thing now, not 3. That's nice. Thank you. There's a lot of those kinds of little things. But the largest single category of new features, and again, these are available only for the Pro and Server editions, are AI-related features. And when I found out about this, I have to say that my initial reaction was not to shriek with glee. Just being honest here. I'm not really an AI fanboy, and so I'm not like, oh, cool, they put AI in everything everywhere. Just what that, like, I never thought that this was a thing that I needed in DEVONthink. It wasn't particularly, didn't feel like this was really going to add anything to my life or solve problems. And, as an author and as a publisher, I have some concerns with AI, concerns around copyright, because I don't like the fact that many of my own books have been slurped up without my permission or without any payment by an AI. And so now people can ask an AI for answers to certain questions that come from me. Instead of people buying my books, they come from, they're fed to them by an AI. So I'm not really happy about that. I have some various other concerns about AI, and it sort of all boils down to the mere fact that you've slapped an AI label on something doesn't tell me how it improves my life. Show me what I can actually do better or easier now that there's AI involvement. I don't get excited about those two letters by themselves. Show me how this helps me. And I think a lot of companies haven't really been doing that effectively. So all that to say, my initial reaction when hearing about the new AI features in DEVONthink was a little muted. But as it turns out, there's some really cool stuff in here. So I want to tell you about this, and I want to divide this into three subcategories. So when we talked about DEVONthink 2 15, 16 years ago, however long it was, we talked about AI features then. And we talked about DEVONthink 3, 6, 7, I forget how many years ago, there were AI features then. And those features, which is AI built into DEVONthink, have been around for basically ever. And they do some really, really useful things. Those features are still there. And it's a type of thing where it's like, okay, well, I've got all these groups. They're like folders. And now I have a new document. Figure out which folder this should go into without me having to figure that out for you. So it looks at the document, and it looks in the documents that are in various groups. And it's like, well, the contents of this document are most similar to the documents in this group. How about if I put it there for you? Like, all right, good. I like that. And it can do things like, if this document is interesting to you, you might want to also see this other one that's buried 10 levels deep in group someplace. You probably forgot about it because it's 10 years old, but like, what do you know? Actually, these two documents are kind of related. This is useful to me. So those sorts of AI features have been around for a long time. They're still there. They are in a different category than what we are now calling AI, which means, these large language models, things like, ChatGPT from OpenAI and the Claude models from Anthropic and a bunch of other ones. So, and of course, there's also Apple Intelligence. So let me just mention Apple Intelligence briefly. Basically, every Mac app supports it. So if you need the writing tools, the proofreading and the rewrite this to be more friendly or more business-like and those sorts of things, they're available in basically all Mac apps. And DEVONthink is a Mac app, so okay, yeah, that's in there too. But the big thing is a whole long list of features that can rely on these outside engines if some criteria are met. So first of all, you have to have the pro or the server version of DEVONthink. Secondly, you have to have an API key for one or more of these services. So if you have the pro server version of DEVONthink, but you haven't gone to OpenAI to get an API key from them, or you haven't gone to Anthropic or to a bunch of other different places, you haven't gotten API keys, which, by the way, are going to cost you money. It's like a pay-per-use kind of thing, depending on how complex your queries are, your prompts, and how much output is generated. These will cost anywhere from pennies to dollars to get a response. The response could come in the form of text. It could come in the form of an image, but you have to go out and figure out, okay, well, I'm on the OpenAI website. What exactly are the steps that I go through to get a key? And to do this, you have to kind of think like a developer. So if you aren't at least modestly technical, you may find all the hoops you have to go through to even locate where on these sites you go to get a key and how to pay for them and how to set them up to be a little bit bewildering. But you go, and I'm going to actually I'm open DEVONthink here and look at the list, because I haven't memorized all the different places. So I mentioned ChatGPT from OpenAI, and Claude from Anthropic, and so if you have an API key for one of these providers, that gives you access to a bunch of different large language models. So as an example, with ChatGPT, there's GPT 4.1 Nano and GPT 4.1 Mini and O4 Mini and O1 and so forth. There are all these different models. And which model you choose depends on how much money you're willing to spend and which features you want and so forth. And then, Claude has the Haiku model and Sonnet and Opus and different versions of these and so forth. And then there's, the Gemini, the Mistral AI, the Perplexity AI. So a bunch of different outside providers. And there are even large language models that you can download for free and run on your Mac, so that you're not sending data out to anybody else. You're not paying a fee. But unless you have the very fanciest Mac Pro with all the trimmings, and possibly even then, you're not going to get nearly as good a performance as you would with one of the commercial models. So you sign up for 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these, any of these models. You plug your API key into the right spot in your preferences in DEVONthink, and now magic can happen. So I'll give you some examples, and there's you get quite a long list of things that you can now do by giving DEVONthink access to these large language models. You can say things like, hey, take this document that I have here in DEVONthink and summarize it for me. All right. You can say, take these 5 documents and tell me what they have in common. Okay. You can say, take everything in this group and analyze it according to the following criteria. Okay. Take all the documents in this group that are about this and make a chart that whatever, make a table that whatever. You can basically chat with your documents. You can say, based on whichever data I am selecting, a specific document or a specific group of documents or whatever, take this information, feed it into the AI, and now give me whatever information I'm asking for about these documents. So that is kind of interesting, kind of cool. But it can go beyond that, because you could just say, open up a window within DEVONthink and say, I'm just going to chat with this chat bot like I would normally do on the web or in an app, or via Siri. You can do those things. You can. I have literally opened up the chat window in DEVONthink and said, hey, I'm working on this feature for my website. Write me some code that does this. And I'm thinking, yeah, as if. And then 15 seconds later, I look at the result. I'm like, it did that. And I stick it on our site and I try it. I'm like, oh, it works. And it's never perfect the first time around. And it still requires me to know what I'm doing and fiddle with it. But if you're a developer, a chat window inside DEVONthink is not the most convenient environment in which to generate code. That's probably not the way you would do it, but I'm just saying you could. It would work that way. So you can ask your favorite AI engine things that don't have anything to do with specific DEVONthink documents, and you can ask it for real world information too. You can say, well, I know that there's this information in these documents about this subject, drawing on these, but then also referencing all information available on the web anywhere. Synthesize the following. Tell me where there might be some errors in my thinking. Tell me where else I can look for more information about this. So for people doing research, people just trying to discover the relationships among pieces of information in their DEVONthink databases, this can be really cool. And it extends to images too, assuming that you have an API key for the appropriate engine that will create images. You can say, all right, here's a recipe. Make an image of what you think this will look like when it's baked. Yeah, might or might not be correct, but like you could do that sort of thing. So it requires a little bit of thought and creativity to even come up with, okay, well, what exactly would I like an AI to do with this data? But I offer some suggestions in the book. And once you've kind of done it a few times, you're like, oh, well, I actually have learned something about this material that I would not have discovered manually, or I now have a new research path that I can follow, or a new thread to pull on. You kind of go, all right, this isn't bad. This is going to make my life somewhat easier and somewhat better. So there are just a ridiculous number of things that you can do in DEVONthink now, optionally, and you have full control what data is sent to an AI, what isn't. You can lock that down however you want, but you now have the option to do these things that can really help you in your work or your creative endeavor. So that's DEVONthink 4 and external large language models.
Joe, let me ask you just a couple quick questions because I'm fascinated by this. It sounds like DEVONthink has made the implementation of the AI models a whole lot easier than doing it yourself, based on what you just said. Do I have the ability to, well, it sounds like I do. I have the ability to add multiple. So let's just say I want Claude as well as ChatGPT as well as Grok. Does DEVONthink then, when I query it, does it pick the best large language model and the ones underneath each one of those companies, or do I have to suggest or tell it which ones I want it to query?
You tell it which one you want to use, and by the way, Grok is not on their list.
Oh, sorry.
But that's okay. They are constantly adding new engines and models and changing, like, well, this one's now this is 3 weeks old, so that's completely outdated. We don't support that old thing anymore. Let's add a new one, like, all the time. But basically, in the settings, I'm looking at the settings over here right now. You choose your default provider. So if you like Google's Gemini, or Mistral AI, or Anthropic's Claude, you say, okay, this is my default provider that I've entered the key for, and this is the default model. So at this particular moment, my preferences are set to use Claude 3.5 Haiku, which is the cheapest of the Claude models that DEVONthink supports. It doesn't have some of the features of like Sonnet and Opus, but it's cheap and it works pretty well. So you set that up as your default, so that anytime you open a chat window or use any of these other features, it will just go to there by default. But in any of the windows, there's a little icon next to the field where you type in your prompt, that you can say, well, for this particular question, I want to switch to a different one. And so you can manually switch at any time for any particular prompt to a different engine or provider. So, you have to kind of do that calculus. There's a trade-off of features, speed, and price. So you have to kind of decide, for the type of thing I'm doing right now, which of these is most important? What trade-offs am I willing to make? And I would do things like I would open up my my Claude like dashboard on the web, and I would give it a query like, okay, do this for me, and it would do this, and like, oh, this is incredible. This has saved me an hour of work, and it cost me 5 cents. So, like, you can actually track it like that. Now, I do have another thing I want to say about the AI, but I'll let you finish with your questions first.
Okay, well, the second one is simple. And if you said it, I apologize because maybe I missed it. But can I utilize DEVONthink's AI capabilities with documents that are external to DEVONthink? Example,
Yeah.
if I have 5 Word documents that relate to a project, can I tell DEVONthink to query those 5 documents? Do I need to import them in? How does that work?
So a thing that we didn't mention earlier, and maybe we talked about this years ago, I don't remember, is that DEVONthink has 2 different ways of interacting with documents. You can either import them, so the whole document is sucked into DEVONthink, it's stored inside DEVONthink, and also all of its contents are indexed. Or you can index external documents. So a document is out in the Finder someplace, and you're not pulling the whole document into DEVONthink and storing it there. You're just telling DEVONthink, hey, go and look at that document, index it, let me see it within DEVONthink, let me fiddle with all the metadata within DEVONthink, but it's really stored externally. So in your example, you could index those 5 Word documents without importing them. It's super easy to do. You'll still see them listed in DEVONthink, but they won't be physically stored there. But you have to at least have done that. DEVONthink has to have access to the contents of the documents in order to be able to send them to an AI.
Which makes perfect sense. But I don't necessarily have to then build up the size of my database by pulling those documents in.
Right.
Got it. Thank you. Okay.
So, yeah, sure. One of the things that people love to use AIs for is, all right, I've got a snapshot, a picture. Like I could take a picture of all these books and say, all right, hey AI, look at this picture and give me a list of all the titles and authors. Maybe give me links to buy them all on Amazon or whatever. You can do that. Taking text from images and transcribing them is a thing. Also, taking audio, whether it's a recording, like a podcast, or recording someone's voice, or a video, and extracting the audio from that, saying, I want a text transcript of all these things. Okay, so this is a very common usage for AI. DEVONthink can do it too. Can transcribe audio, video, images, and so forth, using any of these engines. But we get into this weird situation, and so let's just say, like, you take a photo with your iPhone, and you're looking at it in the Photos app, whether on your iPhone itself or in Photos on your Mac, and it has some text in it, and you haven't done anything, you haven't issued any commands, you haven't said do optical character recognition. But like, there's text in the Photos, you take a picture of a menu or a sign or something, and immediately, you can select that text, you can copy it, you can search on it, right? That's a feature that Apple has added. So it automatically, your Mac or your iPhone or whatever automatically recognizes text and images now. And so the same thing can happen with PDFs. If you take a PDF from, like, you put a document in your scanner, it's just a bitmap, right? So it's just sending an image in PDF format. And instead of feeding it into into DEVONthink, if you just made a file on your desktop and you opened up that file, you can select the text and you can copy it, because this is just a thing that Mac OS does now. So one might wonder, well, okay, since text recognition can now happen automatically without any extra software, why am I going through these extra steps of OCR anymore? Like it's, 2020, like it's the dark ages, why? And so I have a whole section in the book where I talk about, well, there's OCR and then there's OCR. So like if you let Apple's the vision engine, that's what it's called, recognize the text in an image or a PDF by itself, yeah, it's true. You can select that text and copy it. But that is not the same thing as a separate, potentially editable text layer that an OCR engine or an OCR app would give you. And one of the things that you get with an OCR text layer is the fact that this text is now baked into the document. You can export it. You can send it to somebody else who's not using a Mac, somebody else who's using a system that does not do the automatic OCR, and the text is still available to them also. You, depending on which app or engine or whatever you're using to do the OCR, sometimes you can make edits. You can say, well, boy, this document has 3 different languages in it. Make sure you recognize all 3 of them correctly. A lot of OCR engines, including the one that DEVONthink comes with, can do much more elaborate and fancy stuff than what Apple gives you for free. So I just wanted to kind of mention, DEVONthink can make use of these built-in macOS tools, but that doesn't take away the value of doing OCR the old-fashioned way, because that form of OCR gives you quite a bit more. And I personally prefer having that additional information and knowing that it's going to stick with that file forever, not just be inferred in real time by the system. So just wanted to kind of mention that other AI aspect.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And it just seems like, from what you're saying, DEVONthink is just reaching out and taking advantage of all the tools, whether they're third-party AI tools or Apple's own tools, pulling it in and adding the value of those tools to its own set.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct. Using the existing tools where they're fine, enhancing them, or offering an alternative where they could be made better. And like, I could go on for quite some time about other improvements in DEVONthink 4. Oh my God. Like, and a lot of them are just like, well, it's a seemingly little thing. Like, you're editing a Markdown document, and beside the Markdown document, you have a preview of what this will look like when it's rendered as HTML. It used to be that you'd make a change in the Markdown document, then you have to go over here and hit refresh to see what it would look like. Now you don't have to hit refresh anymore. It just shows you instantly the whatever change you made in the Markdown is just there. So that's super nice. It's not a big flashy feature. It's actually it's the removal of a button. We don't need the button anymore. It just happens. And there's a lot of stuff kind of in that category that just makes little things a lot easier, and also makes you think, oh, I never realized I needed to do this, but now I kind of need to do this. And or just like, I never would have considered editing my Markdown in DEVONthink because it's too awkward compared to whatever other tool you might use. And you're like, oh, now it's actually not too awkward anymore. Maybe I'm going to do more stuff in DEVONthink. So it's that sort of thing. There, like, I'm going to have to eat lunch eventually, so I don't want I don't want to go on for too long about this stuff. But there is so much in this app, and a lot of things that, in my opinion, are just like they surprise and delight you. And that reminds me of how Apple used to be. Remember when Apple used to surprise and delight us all the time? I was doing less fist shaking and more like, oh, that's cool, well, DEVONthink's doing a lot of the that's cool stuff, and I think it's really worth spending some time just playing with it and allowing yourself the experience of like, I'm going to use that. Allow yourself those experiences, and you may find that that's your new favorite app.
So we usually don't bring this up, but I'm going to real quick. You mentioned it sort of in passing that there is a free demo download version. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, like I don't really keep track of those things. I'm looking on their site right now. Like, I know you can download the app for free. What I don't know off the top of my head is the parameters. Okay. Minimum. Okay. So test drive DEVONthink carefully and make up your mind. Minimum 30 days or 150 hours of pure runtime. So you can download DEVONthink, use it for 30 days or 150 hours, and that should be long enough to get the hang of it and figure out if you want to give them some money.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because this, even the version of DEVONthink I'm familiar with, let alone DEVONthink 4, it's one of those that you really do need that evaluation period. And true to the way they've always been, they're giving you a pretty healthy demo period. They're not doing one of these, 3 days and then send us money. 150 hours is a lot of time to spend in anything. So take advantage of it.
And Chuck, you really should go ahead and pay to upgrade, because every time somebody upgrades their DEVONthink, I get a little bit of money. Because that's our arrangement. The book, Take Control of DEVONthink 4, 300 pages, it's free. It's free. It's free because Devon Technologies is sponsoring the book, and basically we have a little agreement that every purchase I get a little bit of money. It's not a lot of money, but it's added up over the many thousands of users. That's okay. It's gonna keep me in mac and cheese for a while. So it's gonna more than pay for my Claude credits. No, it's fine. I'm doing just fine with this book. But I do get a little bit of money for each person that buys the software new or upgrades. So help your favorite author by buying an app that you're really going to love.
That just encourages me to go and do it a little bit sooner. But the fact that it is a free book, that's even better, because now, if you think about it, now you've got Joe's book for free. You've got 150 hours of DEVONthink for free to figure out if it works for you. So that sounds like a win-win across the board.
Those 150 hours are more than enough time to read the entire book slowly.
Good. Okay, good.
It's a long book, but it's not that long.
Yeah. So, of course, it's takecontrolbooks.com is where you go to download this for free. But while you're there, but while you're there, check out all the other books from Joe and from all the other great Take Control authors. This is
we
still...
don't mind if you buy books while you're at our site. I mean, we're not going to say only the free books. You can't give us any money. No, we'll take your money. Sure.
Yeah, this is still one of my favorite things, of ways to learn new software or updated software. So takecontrolbooks.com. Joe, it sounds like we'll be hearing from you again soon with some other new things. We'll just leave it at that.
Have you have you heard that Apple's working on some new operating systems
I
and
read something about it. Yeah.
other stuff? I seem to remember somebody mentioning something about that. So yeah, that's going to happen, and there could be some other surprises coming your way. So yeah, we'll be talking again real soon.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I will talk to you soon. Folks, this is Mac Voices. We will talk to you again soon as well. In the meantime, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.